Okay, so basic stuff first. So let us understand what exactly bioavailability means. Now, when we eat food, it passes through a lot of process. So first process that the food goes through, apart from the cooking stuff and all, but the first process that our food goes through is the mixture of saliva whenever we, chew the food. That is a process. The enzymes get added onto it. Then it passes through our esophagus, goes to our stomach, where all the acids mix together. The food is then uh, drawn to the intestines, the small intestine to be precise, where the actual breakdown of nutrient happens. Now this breakdown of nutrient happens because of a thin hairline, I would say ensemble called as villi. Now these villi are responsible for the absorption of the nutrients from whatever food you have eaten. Now, when we talk about the word bioavailability, it basically refers to the release of nutrient from the food and its absorption in the intestine. So the point to be noted, or the key message that we want to pass on here, is nobody can give the guarantee of exactly how much nutrient absorption takes place in your intestines. So bioavailability, zarur dhyan mein rakhna. So we'll be talking about this term when we go to the FAQ. So let us understand what exactly protein is. So I'll just take you to one of the statements which was made by none other than NASA. So it is said that, whenever the cosmic laws decided that there should be life on Earth, that point in time, the first living thing or the living element that came into existence was amino acid. And amino acid, जिसे हम normal language में we call it as a protein, and that gave rise to single cell organisms, and then multi-cell organisms, the dinosaurs, and so on and so forth, and finally we are here, the human beings. So when we talk about proteins, we also need to understand in the overall nutrition philosophy where exactly does it belong. Now on the right hand side, what we have tried to show you is treat it as a basic composition of your dinner plate, or the food that you eat, composition of your plate. 40% of your plate should be carbohydrates, and we will recommend that if you are on a weight loss fat loss journey, it should be complex carbohydrates. Second, 30% of your plate should comprise of good fats. So good fats might be something like omega-3, which typically comes from supplements. Good fats also might mean that you have some fish related food in your plate. It might also mean desi ghee, and so on and so forth. Avocado and olive oil, and hell lot of stuff comes there. Flax seeds and all. Last but not the least, 30% of the remainder should be proteins, and preferably it should be class 1 protein. We'll be talking about the terms associated with that, the class and the PDCAS, what exactly they mean. So protein has its own place in the global nutrition philosophy. Why? Because protein is the basic building block of our body. It is found throughout the body. It is in muscle, it is in bone, it is in skin, hair, virtually every other body part or tissue. Also, lot of the chemical processes that happens in our body, the digestion, the breathing, the hemoglobin, the oxidation process, etc., proteins also make up all the required enzymes that power such chemical reactions. And hemoglobin itself is a protein. At the end of the day, hemoglobin is a protein. So at least 10,000 different proteins make us what we are and keep us that way. Okay, so 9 amino acids, will not go into the technical part, but there are 9 amino acids which are called as the essential amino acids. The essential amino acids are those which our body does not manufacture. ये proteins जो है, जो 9 amino acids है, ये हमारे शरीर में नहीं बनते. That is one of the reason that these 9 amino acids have to be consumed externally, that is through food. Now, what is this essential and non-essential is very simple. The essential amino acids is something that does all the essential work, like giving us energy, the muscle repair, the muscle building. So it combines with the already pre-existing proteins in our body, and it formulates these so-called processes. For example, अगर आपको कहीं खरोच आती है, what happens? Coagulation happens. वहां पे क्लॉटिंग हो जाता है एंड वो जख्म आपकी बंद हो जाती है. दैट इज नथिंग बट इट इज अ प्रोसेस विच इज डन बाय प्रोटीन्स. इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी malnourished होने के बाद, so there are some people you know जिनका जख्म जल्दी भरता नहीं है. कई लोगों को जख्म भरने में टाइम लगता है. टिपिकली पीपल हु आर having diabetes, who are having blood sugar issues. So from that perspective, it always makes sense for number one is you should think healthy and be healthy. I mean that's the underlying message of any of the trainings that we cover. But coming back is understand that protein is everywhere in our body. Okay, so again, when we talk about digestion of these 9 essential amino acids, bioavailability comes into picture. So if I eat dal and chawal does not give me all the 9 amino acids. Similarly, dal does not give me all the 9 amino acids, but combined together, dal chawal gives me a complete protein, that is the 9 amino acids. But it is a simple carbohydrate, it is very high in calories, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And har ek ka goal ke hisab se the foods they get calibrated. Okay, so moving on. So when we talk about the different classes of protein, so we just want to note about one thing. When we talk about the class of the protein, it is either class 1 or it is not class 1. उसके अलावा अपने को कुछ ध्यान में रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. Either protein class 1 है या non class 1 है. So Advait, do you want to add some points over here?
Yes, sure, Prasanna.
Yeah.
Yes, so just to summarize what Prasanna said, very, very important points to note for everyone. Our body is made up of protein. Okay, so Prasanna has highlighted 3 macronutrients in the global nutrition philosophy, that is carbs, fats, and proteins. And carbs and fats are the energy sources. Our body never get built up with carbs and fats. Okay, they provide energy for our body, and then protein is the thing with water. So next to water, so our body is 70% water, and after water it's the protein with which our body is basically built up. So protein is basic building block, that is why we say it is a basic building block. Okay, so now let us understand what is PDCAS. The full form is protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. Okay, so basic indication about PDCAS is it is basically a digestibility of the protein and the composition of the amino acid. The combination of it is called as PDCAS score. In simple language, if you want to understand this, the quality of protein is indicated by its PDCAS score. Okay, now we know there are a lot of vegetarian and non-vegetarian sources of protein, but not necessarily every protein source will have PDCAS 1. Okay, 1 PDCAS is the highest score. And if you can see here, egg protein, so soy protein is almost 1, it is 0.99. Other than soy protein, it's whey protein, that is milk source, or casein protein, and egg whites. So the PDCAS score for all these food sources is exactly 1, and all these are class 1 proteins, meaning you get all the essential amino acids, 9 amino acids from this food source. But if you see other vegetarian sources, the PDCAS score is less than 0.7, which most of the time we consume either in insufficient quantity or in sufficient quantity, but the PDCAS score is less than 1. So when we are talking, so we are going to discuss about how much protein to consume and what is the grammage and all. But whenever we are now talking about protein consumption, it is always class 1 protein, which has PDCAS score 1. So if we are saying that we need to consume 0.8 gram per kg of our weight protein, it always refers to PDCAS score 1 and class 1 protein. Okay. Yeah, so that is the basic understanding about protein. Now let's move ahead. Now, why protein? So when we understand or when we talk about protein, the only thing we see in front of us is a bodybuilder or a person with having good muscles, and we directly relate protein with muscles. But other than muscles, what are the functions in protein? As I said, protein is a basic building block, and there are 10,000 different types of proteins which make our body. Okay. Now, unlike plants, so plants can make their own protein and they can grow, but unlike plants, we need to consume these proteins from outside. And the reason is all our cells, tissues, if you take skin, if you take bone, bone marrow and everything consists of protein. Okay, our enzymes and hormones, it is also a protein. Our hemoglobin is a protein. Okay, so all the essential components which are required for our survival, it is protein. Okay, as I said, other than carbs and fats, which are just the energy sources, that is only there is only one macronutrient which basically makes our body, and that is a protein. Okay, so 9 amino acids which Prasanna mentioned, which are typically essential, which our body do not synthesize within. Those are like histidine, isoleucine, leucine, valine. Okay, so they are basically ending with ine. So whenever you are seeing a word ending with ine, it is generally referred to as a protein. Okay, now go next. Now let us understand. Now I can relate this very much with my own case. So 4 years back, when I was not in the fitness journey, or I was not at all working on my health, so for last 15-20 years, so I was having a fear about protein. And why this fear? So I used to think a lot, why did I have that fear? And the answer I got is, every time protein is advertised with by a gym people, and they are always related with bodybuilders. Okay, so whenever you see any protein supplement advertisement or any gym advertisement, they always basically relate all proteins. It can be chicken, it can be eggs, but they always relate it with big bodybuilders. Okay, and it's not our cup of tea. Basically, individual person need not become a bodybuilder every time, and that is why we start thinking that it is only related with bodybuilding. So when I used to go to gym, the gym person used to talk to me in terms of 12 eggs, 20 eggs. You should eat 20 eggs per day, 12 eggs per day. You should take this protein supplement and that protein supplement. And he always mentioned everything related to bodybuilding. Okay, so that basically builds up some fear within us, and then we basically get reluctant, and we basically understand, or we basically termed it as, it is not a normal in a day-to-day life. Okay, only if I'm going to gym, only if I am working on my muscles, only if I want to become bulky and bodybuilder, I need protein. So that was my mindset, and with that mindset, I usually used to ignore proteins. And then I hardly means, if I calculate my protein intake that time during in my whole day, it was hardly 10 to 20 grams. And because of that, I had lots of health issues, but I will talk about it later. Another thing we need to understand is, our Indian meals, they are never basically designed as per the global nutrition philosophy. They are generally carb based. They are we prepare them as per the taste, as per the availability, as per the convenience, the crunchy, and then aroma and everything. But we never focus on the global nutrition philosophy while designing or cooking any dish. Okay, so if you take typical breakfast dishes like poha, upma, idli, dosa, everything is majorly concentrated on carb based, and it is just to fulfill our hunger, and it is just to get that good taste and enjoy that food, and it is more of an entertainment part and more of a convenience part, rather than focusing the nutritional need of it. Okay, so it is basically not rich in protein. And generally, if you see, every Indian is deficient in protein. Now we are going to talk about many reasons and many pros and cons of having protein and all, so in further stages. So Prasanna, can you go next? Yeah, so how much protein to be eaten? Now, as I said, I had that fear in my mind, and we generally ignore protein, and we hardly concentrate on the grammage of protein that we consume throughout a day. But what medical science say, or what ICMR says, or what WHO says, so these are the basically figures, and we have taken this table from ICMR page, and it says that an average Indian who is weighing around 60 kg needs 60 gram of protein. So 0.8 to 1 gram. As I said, it should be class 1 protein and PDCA score 1. So 0.8 to 1 gram of protein is basically required by a normal person. Normal person means he is waking up, might be going to morning walk, then he's doing his 12 to 14 hour job, then he's coming back home, he's having dinner, and he's simply sleeping. So he's living a normal life. There is no hectic life for him, means physically I'm saying, and there is no heavy exercises he's doing and all. So all this, even if this normal person needs 0.8 to 1 gram protein per kg of his body weight, it is for the basic survival. Okay, on top of that, if a person is a sports person, he is an athlete, he is losing weight, or he is working on his muscles, or he is into sports, so there are different variations of grammage of protein. And right from kids to adults to senior citizens, everybody needs protein as per their age factor and as per their requirement. Okay, so typically in senior citizens, they need more protein, because one thing is their metabolism is slow, they do not eat a lot of food, and they are generally deficient in protein, and at that age they basically start losing their muscles. Okay, one more thing we need to understand is the class 1 protein, if we do not consume from outside, it is essential protein, so body cannot survive without that class 1 protein. Okay, and if we do not consume it from outside, body can eat the protein which is available within. So if you are not working on your muscles, if you are not doing exercises, and then those muscles are not in use, so we have listened, we have heard this term called lose it, use it, or lose it. Okay, so if you are not using your muscles and not giving class 1 protein from outside, body is going to consume those proteins from within, and body will break down all the muscles, and you will see a muscle loss in that case. And typically this happens in senior citizens, where they do not focus on their health and fitness, they do not lift weights, they do not involve in strength training, and they do not consume class 1 protein in enough amounts from outside. And typically after the age of 35, we start seeing a decrease in our the muscle loss, and then low stamina, lethargy, and all those things. So these are the signals that we are losing muscles and we are not consuming enough proteins.
And Advait, I'll just add one point here. I mean, senior citizens is absolutely correct. But in today's world, based on the kind of lifestyle that we people are leading, typically average lifestyle any person leads is sedentary. And
Yes.
in case of sedentary lifestyle, no physical activity, no adequate diet, uh, it, the cannibalism that you mentioned about, that our body eating its own proteins or eating its own muscles, is something that is started happening from the age of 30 itself. So you
Yes.
don't need to wait till you become old for this effect to happen.
Yeah, and big problem is we think that we are not we are having sedentary lifestyle, we are not doing exercise, so we do not need protein, but the body uses the protein within, and then it basically adds into a lot of health issues.
So I think bottom line is, whether you are working out or whether you are not working out, the recommended daily allowance to have class 1 proteins is 0.8 grams at a bare minimum. And ideal protein intake for a person, as it is mentioned in the ICMR sheet, it should be 1 gram per kg of body weight. And as you said, Advait, depending on the physical activity, it can be increased to 1.2 if a person is working out for, let's say, 35 minutes to 40 minutes every day.
Yeah.
That protein actually goes up for people who lift weights, preferably around 1.4 to 1.7 grams per kg of body weight, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about something called as excess protein, as per the American Heart Association, anything which is twice. So for example, if a 60 kg person is having 120 grams of proteins or more, that is said to be excess protein. Whether to have so much protein is correct or wrong, it depends on the purpose of that person, why he or she is consuming that much amount of protein. Any excess protein which doesn't get metabolized gets converted to carbohydrates, and it starts behaving like fats. So it basically it becomes fats at the end of the day, and these are the fats that actually create the hell lot of problems that you may experience.
Yes, and Prasanna, the fear factor about having excess protein in your diet basically vanishes with this, and we should have a fear factor of having inadequate protein or less protein in our diet. Okay, so consuming 60 grams of protein is very, very tough throughout a day, class 1 protein that too. And we hardly consume 30 to 40 grams of protein. Even if you are having some supplemental shakes and all, you consume hardly 30 to 40 grams of protein. Other than that, those proteins are not 100% digested or not 100% absorbed in your body, so there is a wastage.
That is
So
the
considering,
bioavailability.
yeah,
Yeah.
considering everything, having 60 grams of protein is a tough job, and so we should not be worrying about having high protein diet. We cannot have high protein diet unless we are specifically taking those supplements and heavy supplements for bodybuilding and all. Other than that, a normal person cannot have high protein diet.
And eating
It's just
chicken in
not
all my
possible.
meals.
Yes, it is not possible. Yeah, next.
So when we talk about protein deficiency, now protein deficiency, as per one of the news publications that came, I think 8 or 9 months ago, it was reported by Times of India itself that protein deficiency actually is the number one problem for all the Indians. So it got the number one status. It overtook diabetes as well as tuberculosis as the number one killer in India. And it is very, very important to note that especially young children in India don't get enough protein due to food insecurity. Now food insecurity is something, it is a major problem. There are a lot of elements that result in this food insecurity. One is the manufacturing of food just to meet the demand. So demand supply ka ratio pura screwed up hai. We are a population dense country. We not many people are above a certain uh, many people are below the poverty line, you can say that. And the kind of focus on agriculture, the government support to it, all these things actually matter. So day by day we are improving, no doubt about it, but there is the climate problem. Suddenly we have rain, suddenly we don't have rain. So all this food insecurity is something which is creating a lot of problems in India. And when we talk about the harmful effects of protein deficiency, so it is as simple as what Advait said: cannibalism in your own body, okay, for not having adequate protein, and that results in decreased immunity. So while in fact I would want to add this, that if you are sick, if you are not feeling well, your protein intake should actually go up. It should not be brought down. You should not be eating or hogging on the sugary stuff. You should not be eating sweet stuff. You should not be having fruit juices. You should be having the 9 essential amino acids, because those are the ones which are going to save you at the end of the day. And ultimately the protein deficiency results in something called as oxidative stress, which might result in ultimate death. That is the stark reality, and this is the reality. So we have to have everything balanced, and that is exactly what we are moving towards right now. So what is the best time to consume protein? Many of our people ask them. So one is, uh, always eat a variety of protein rich food. So even if you are taking supplements, you limit the supplements to once or twice a day, that's it. But around in 6 meals, once or twice a day supplements is good enough. All the other 4 meals should obey the nutrition philosophy of 40% carbs, 30% fats, and 30% class 1 protein. So protein should ideally be spread out through evenly throughout the day. Okay. People normally tend to get most of their protein during evening meals and the least at the breakfast. So many of you who are following our program, we exactly try to alter that. So we normally recommend you a meal replacement shake which is protein rich in your breakfast, rather than having it at any time of the day. That's when your body is actually ready to absorb all the nutrients. So as I said, so now when we have come to the word supplement, so let's talk about the supplements also. So Advait, about the supplements part, what exactly are your thoughts? Now when we talk about these protein rich supplements, there are basically two categories, right? So one is something which is a meal replacement, which again is in line with the global nutrition philosophy, and the other part is something which is called as a pure whey protein. So you would want to take care of this, Advait?
Yes, definitely. Now, as you said, it should have a purpose. Okay. Now, there are some people who are in sports or who are working on their fitness or higher level of fitness. Now, they need more amount of protein, and in each and every meal they cannot have carb based meal because they need to take care of their weight, they need to take care of their sports performance, and also, so for these people the specially designed supplements are there which are basically low in carb and high in protein. But as you rightly said, our overall meal throughout a day should be balanced enough, and you should be having enough complex carbs, good fats, and good proteins, everything. It should not be concentrated just on protein. So if you are having 90% protein and just 5% carbs, 5% fat, it is not going to work for you. Okay. So your body will respond well if you have 40-30-30 ratio. And I believe everybody who is attending this session, they all are like normal people. Nobody is doing bodybuilding and all. So we all need 40-30-30 ratio, and for that the meal replacement shakes. So if you are talking about supplements, the meal replacement shakes which are having complex carbs, good fats, fiber, and protein, that too class 1 protein with PDCA score 1, it is going to help a lot. Okay. Now understand why do we need supplements. If you take my personal case, I do not eat eggs throughout a day. I hardly eat maximum 4 eggs, that too only one egg yellow. I do not eat chicken frequently. I hardly sometimes, or I hardly eat chicken. Okay, in such conditions, basically I do not get class 1 protein from outside through these food sources. Okay, now we know that even milk source is not good, because if I try to get all the requirement of protein, now my weight is 67. Now if I try to consume 67 grams of protein through milk source and vegetables, I will have to drink 1 liter of milk throughout a day. I do not drink that much of milk because it has other side also. So one, we need to understand that any food will not be there with a common, or with a only one nutrient, macro or micronutrient. It will have a combination of all the nutrients. And then if I take more of a chicken and red meat in my meals just to increase my protein intake, there is when you lift the one end of the stick, the other end also get lifted. So I will start getting more of a cholesterol problems, or high calorie problem, weight gain problem. All the problems will also come along with it. So I need to balance my calories, I need to balance my food composition, and I need to balance my protein grammage also. So for all these problems, to take care of all these problems, supplements are designed. And nowadays we have a very advanced science which basically gives us a very classy proteins which are completely natural, completely taken from ways of pro sources or milk sources or soy sources. We have a technology which gives us protein isolates. So protein isolate means the unwanted part of any material is removed. So if you talk about soy protein isolate, that means the unwanted material of soy is removed and only protein is extracted. So we have such kind of a technology which basically gives us 100% safe supplements which we can consume. And we are going to talk about the supplements which we shouldn't be consuming in the end. But right now, let us talk about meal replacement supplements, which basically work wonders. And one more thing we need to understand is, when we need to control grammage of the protein that we eat, we basically better get help from supplements. Because when you eat 100-gram chicken, you do not have any control of how many grams of protein you are consuming. Or when you don't even know whether you are consuming 100-gram chicken or it is 120 grams. But when you take a supplemental shake, it is quantified, and you know that you are getting maximum of 25 grams of protein from that shake, and that too PD class 1 and class 1. So sometimes taking supplements has some benefits, and we basically leverage on those benefits.
And one more thing, Advait. So if we talk exclusively about weight loss, now when we come to weight loss or even fat loss for that matter, the basic thumb rule is no protein optimization, absolutely no fat loss. Please write this down somewhere. This is a fact. Again, this is done. The optimization of protein is done keeping the 40-30-30 ratio in mind. Now, this is exactly where the calories come into play. So meal replacement supplements, which are generally low calorie full meals, are recommended. So don't confuse the meal replacement shakes with the protein shakes. They are completely different.
Yes. And the reason why we say that no protein, no fat loss is because whenever you are not eating protein, we are basically, there are only two options left. One is fat and one is carbs. Now we cannot consume more fats. So if you see fatty food, we cannot consume more, because you will not feel good after having heavy fats. Okay, so we end up with having more carbs. So if we are not consuming proteins, then it's a carb. And then we are going to go on a toss in terms of our calorie management. So it's a simple formula: no protein optimization, no fat loss. Yes, Prasanna, we can go next.
Yeah, I think this is good. So let's do a small comparison here.
Yes. Now this is an important slide. So I was talking about supplements, and I was talking about the some kind of a supplements which we shouldn't be or never be consuming. Now nowadays in Bollywoods also we see a lot of film actors and all. They are having six packs and having good bodies and all. And youngsters basically get inspired by them, and they start following them, and they start going to gym, and then basically they visualize themselves as having those six packs and all. But we need to understand that if it is, whether it is natural, or how do these stars achieve that, what are the food that they consume, what are the supplements that they consume. And you will be surprised to know that the supplements which we consume in our day-to-day life as meal replacement shakes or protein shakes, and the supplements or the things which they consume are totally different. The bodybuilding and all those things, six packs and all, everything happens through steroids. Okay, now there are basic differences between having protein food supplements and steroids. Okay, now first thing is, all the protein food supplements or protein shakes, even whey protein or soy protein, anything, they are completely natural extracts. They are taken from either of a plant source or milk source, Okay, they are never unnatural. Whereas the steroids or anabolic supplements, which are basically artificial hormones, which are secreted or which are injected in your body just to get that pump up effect and have bigger muscles and all, they are generally chemical based and they are artificial hormones. So it is uh, so definitely the food supplements which are natural will never have any side effects, but the steroids will always have a lot of side effects.
So
Okay.
Advait, it is something similar to what we call, when we were young, we used to eat something called as Chavanprash, if you remember. And
Yes.
Chavanprash was something which was a supplement because
Yeah.
it was made out of active ingredients. So
Correct.
once
Correct.
you open the container of that Chavanprash, it has to be consumed within certain time limit because there were no preservatives added, if I remember that very correctly.
Yes. 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 Yeah. So we are talking about steroids and supplements. So now food supplements, protein supplement, they are essential, as we know that we need all those 9 amino acids. Steroids are not essential. We do not need them. But if you are doing bodybuilding, if you want to pump up body, if you want bigger muscles and all, artificially you need to inject them in your body. Okay, which is not a good practice. As per all the WHO and ICMR and all protein supplements or all protein foods or all protein shakes, nothing has any side effects. So if you are consuming 0.8 to 1.5 grams per kg of your weight, you are not going to see any side effect on your body. But steroids will always have a lot of side effects, and they are very, very dangerous, and they can be fatal also. So many times when we see these news that the XYZ person, he was going to gym and he suddenly died and all, generally those people consume unwanted supplements which are steroids and which are completely unnatural. And if you are consuming natural food supplement, it is medically safe and medically sound. Okay. uh, Food supplements can be consumed by anyone, right from kids to senior citizens. Everybody need these proteins, and if you are consuming it through supplements also, there is absolutely no harm. Your body should get zero point 0.8 to 1.5 grams of class 1 protein. Now source you need to decide as per your weight goal, as per your food availability, as per your culture and all. So it is completely your choice. Steroid generally not consumed by a normal person. All those actors and Bollywood stars or maybe bodybuilders and all, they consume it. These injections are very, very costly. A single injection can cost from 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees. So it is not basically not at all managed by us. Okay. So all the food supplements are generally approved by FSSI or food safety bills or government and health ministries and all. But these supplements, anabolic steroids and all, they might have some banned substances, heavy metals, artificial steroids, which are not approved by all these medical bodies. Okay. So these are the basic differences. And just remember that we are never going to consume any kind of a steroid, whatever we consume. So we typically consume Herbalife meal replacement shake. It doesn't have any kind of a steroid, any kind of a heavy metal, any kind of a chemical which is going to suppress your appetite or which is going to boost up your muscles. Even if ladies are consuming this, they are not going to get those male kind of muscles and all. It is completely managed by different hormones and all. So do not worry about it. They are going to keep you healthy and they are going to keep your fitness up to the mark. Yeah, Prasanna, go next.
So let's take a look at some of the frequently asked questions.
Yes.
Now, this is something that, I mean, to be very honest with all of you, we had these questions in our minds also. I mean, there is no, we are not, different than everybody. So, Advait, I don't work out. How much protein should I be eating? I believe we answered this question.
Yes.
I do not have any organ ailments as such, but I lead a very, very hectic lifestyle because of my work schedule. So, how much protein should I eat? So, as far as the grams of protein that you should eat is concerned, you should have minimum zero point 0.8 gram per kg of body weight. But my friend, the hectic lifestyle itself is going to mess up all the other things. You are going to end up with a tummy, you're going to end up with a lot of fats, you're going to end up with a completely screwed up glucose cycle, and eventually you're going to come to us for weight loss or fat loss. So if you have a hectic lifestyle, just try to make sure that you maintain it as an active lifestyle. In spite of being hectic or whatever, you find time, you make time to do a lot of activities, physical activity, drink water, sleep well, and eat at least 4 or 5 meals a day. You don't need to go for anything else. I smoke and drink occasionally and regularly. So how much protein should I eat? My friend, you should not worry about the protein. You should be worried about the smoking and drinking occasionally or regularly, what you do. So we had this question, but I felt that we should put it because the fear of protein sounds much higher than the fear of smoking and drinking. It is so stupid. Does excess protein result in constipation, Advait? What is your thought on this?
Yeah, it definitely not. The main thing that I observed in many people that they do not drink adequate water. So they are aware that the fiber is good for digestion, and if you have constipation, eat a lot of fiber, and also they keep on eating a lot of fiber. But the water intake, I've even seen people who drink just half a liter water per day. And if you are drinking anything less than 3 liters, you are putting your kidneys on risk. The entire body will be on risk. Your body will start retaining water. It will start retaining toxins within your body, and you will have a lot of side effects of having less water. So it is when you are having a point. So whatever is the nutrition philosophy, it is basically supported by 3 to 4 liters of water per day. So on an average 1 liter water per 15 kg of weight. So if you are consuming that kind of a water, you will not have any kind of issue. So I am basically consuming 1.5 grams per kg of my weight as per my need for last 3 years. And I have not seen every year I am checking my kidney function, liver function. I am maintaining my water intake properly up to the mark. I have not seen any kind of a issue whatsoever.
Yeah, and one more thing is that even if you're an athlete, the protein shakes per se is not going to improve your performance. It is going to improve your endurance, the muscle repair capability, etc., etc. But the performance improvement is dependent on a lot of other factors. How
Yes.
much vitamin C are you taking? How much vitamin B are you taking? Are you taking glucosamine? Are you taking omega-3 fatty acids? Are you following a proper lifestyle? Are you sleeping well? Are you staying hydrated? So if you're an athlete, all these factors will come into picture. How many night outs, how many night parties do you do? All this is going to impact your performance.
Yes.
Does excessive protein intake cause damage to liver and kidneys? Answer is no. The protein intake per se does not cause any damage to liver and kidneys if they are completely food or made from food sources. But if you are already having a pre-existing kidney or a liver condition, you should be consulting your doctor before starting to consume any sort of supplements. Mark this, because many of the people who come to us, they don't even know that their kidney function is all screwed up. They don't know what the EGFR values are giving. They don't know what their liver function tests have resulted in, how much bilirubin is there in their, so all these things they don't know. So it is better. So if I would add a thumb rule here, if you are above the age of 30, it is better to get yourself routinely checked up every 6 months if you are having a very, very bad lifestyle. If your lifestyle is active, if you're good, once in a year is absolutely good, but do get yourself medically examined, because pre-existing kidney liver condition agar rahega, the processing or the metabolization or the metabolic activity of your body already is into a sort of a decline. It puts more pressure on the liver and the kidneys, which are already damaged, to digest the proteins that you're taking. So for any person with a pre-existing condition, maybe a person is on single kidney or whatever, there is a pre-decided grams, that how much grams of protein you can consume in a day. Consuming no protein is equal to death, as simple as that. But how many grams you can consume is something that is given. So you need to ask your doctor for all this. Now, when we come to the other
Yeah,
part,
Prasanna,
that yeah,
one more point I would like to add. So when doctor tells that you should go on a low protein diet, I have specifically asked one doctor, my family doctor, what do you mean by low protein diet? And he clearly said that 1 gram per kg is a low protein diet. Okay. So when you have a kidney or liver problem, you need to ask your doctor how many grams of protein. So when doctor is saying low protein diet, you do not blindly assume that it is zero protein, and do not stop having all the protein sources. Okay. That is one thing. And what happens is basically many of the times the filters of the kidney do not function well, and they do not retain all the proteins in the blood, and the proteins are added in the urine. So that is the problem that happens because your kidney is already not functioning properly and the filters are damaged. But having protein will never damage your kidney. So bottom line or underline this statement that you need to ask your doctor how many grams of protein I should be having with this kind of kidney function.
so another important question that we come across is, are supplements safe to consume? Do I need to take a medical practitioner's permission to consume supplements? The answer is very simple. So I am a normal person. I eat roti, sabzi, dal, rice. I work out for around 45 minutes a day, and leading a pretty healthy life. For me, eating a pav bhaji or eating a bhajia in this rainy season or something, it's a dietary change. So when I'm making this dietary change on my own, or maybe, consuming alcohol on some weekend with friends or whatever, for making such dietary changes, if I don't take the permission of my doctor, I don't need to take the permission to take the supplements. Very simple. Provided the supplements have the FSSAI approvals, provided the supplements have a clear cut nutritional label which is showing what exactly it contains, absolutely no issues. Is protein only used for muscle development? Otherwise,
it is used for muscle development, but it is used not only for muscle development. There are a lot of other roles, but yes, muscle development also. And muscle development should happen whenever you are losing weight or maintaining your muscles in every stage. So just because we have introduced a protein shake during your weight loss cycle, it doesn't mean that you should be consuming protein only during your weight loss cycle. You are maintaining a weight or maintaining your muscle mass is also a project, or it's also something to look into. And the muscle development stage is basically a continuous stage. You need to retain your muscles also, so they are basically breaking down on a daily basis with your activities, and you need to develop them. Okay, so it doesn't relate with bodybuilding every time. It is basically a common man's muscle, so you need to have a lean muscle mass in your body. And yes, protein will definitely will be used for muscle development, but provided you are consuming class 1 protein as per the adequate grammage.
absolutely. And do I need to reduce the protein intake if I am having uric acid problems? Now, the reason for having uric acid problems, or maybe some people get gout attacks, the reasons are completely different. One of the major reasons that we have come across is people who are overworking out. I mean, they work out like there is no tomorrow, 2 hours in the gym, and running and etc. etc. Running 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and actually not having adequate proteins. That also results in uric acid problems, and this is something that we verified with one of our clients who is a doctor. Another problem for uric acid is again the lifestyle habits, the amount of visceral fat that a person carries, uh, the smoking habit, the alcohol habit. Then there are some certain types of food that a particular person is used to. So too much of sugary foods, people who are already diabetic, they might have chance, they might have a chance to develop the uric acid problems pretty quickly. And protein intake, whenever you have class 1 protein in your diet, class 1 protein is actually helpful for people with uric acid issues. So what foods a person having gout or uric acid problem should avoid is basically any food that comes under class 2 protein. So typically जिसमें purines करके रहता है, all those purines are something that needs to be avoided whenever a person is suffering from uric acid problems.
Yes. And one more thing, that if you are having uric acid, it might happen that your kidney filters are not working well, and they are basically not allowing uric acid to get basically filtered out in urine. So that might cause a uric acid problem, or your uric acid production is very high. So as Prasanna said, the major issue is obesity and high sugar food, high simple carb food. And definitely you should be avoiding sprouts, typically egg whites, and the protein shake which we supply or which we recommend during our weight loss cycle is basically very safe for uric acid. And we have a lot of cases of uric acid issue, and those people along with their weight loss and fat loss, they have recovered their uric acid problem also. So that is what experience is.
Yeah, and one more question that we came across was, uh, there are people who have kidney stone issues. Now, primarily, the kidney stone is something. Majority of the cases, it happens in the urinary tract. That means there are thin wire-like tracts that are responsible for carrying the urine to the urinary bladder. अगर वो track का जो dimension रहता है, that is around 2 mm. And 2 mm dimension में अगर 3 mm का stone अगर पैदा हो जाता है उसमें, then obviously it pains a lot. If the stone is in the tract, absolutely there is no correlation or no relation whatsoever with your protein intake. You should be having lots of water, and obviously if you have a prevailing heart condition, you can check with your doctor in terms of how much liters of water are you allowed to have in a day. But yes, in the rarest case, if the stone is actually in your kidney, then you need to consult a physician. You definitely need to consult a nephrologist, that is a person who looks after the kidneys. And the last but not the least, so should I need to consult anyone specific before optimizing my protein? Yes, you need to consult us. We are your coaches. You need to consult us in terms of how much and what should be your protein intake, because we have a habit of understanding your medical history also. We will not give you anything which is like one size fits all and just off the fly. We have the adequate study, we have the adequate knowledge. And the biggest thank you that we want to give with regards to this session are to our doctor customers. We have doctors who are, working in the Ayurvedic department, homeopathy. Some of them are MBBS, some of them are MD. We have had a chat with quite a few of them before we even decided to take this session. So a very, very heartfelt thanks for sharing all your experiences and observations with us for this. And with this, thank you
Yeah,
so much,
Prasanna,
guys,
one more
for,
point.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, very important point that I want to highlight here. So even if you decided to take supplemental proteins, you need to consult us, means you need to consult the authorized distributors, because you cannot have artificial chicken, but you can easily have artificial supplements if you are consuming it or if you are procuring it from unauthorized sources. So many of the time these protein supplements are easily available on internet on higher discounts, but let me tell you, they can be easily duplicated. You can easily end up in getting first copy or the expired products, and if you are not ensured about that and you are to start consuming, you are definitely going to see some health issues because of that. So whenever you are consuming these supplements, ensure that you are getting it from licensed distributors who are giving you non-expired and legal authorized products, and which are completely original. So
That is
with
very,
that,
very
yes,
critical, Advait.
yes.
Yes, that is absolutely critical. So with this, thank you so much for your time. Today's session went on a bit far because we thought that we wanted to cover all possible points. At the end of the day, eating right, sleeping well, hydrating yourself, and staying physically active is what matters. And in that aspect, whether you take your proteins from supplements, whether you take it from the normal food, if you are maintaining the so-called energy balance or the calorie balance, you're not going to put on weight. So with this thought, wishing you all very, very happy weekend. Thank you so much for patiently listening to us. Good night and take care. Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
Advait, for sharing
everyone.
your inputs. Bye bye.
Thanks, Prasanna. Bye bye.